Good evening, good evening, good evening. Is it right here?
I can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Everybody hear me out there?
Yeah, but a little bit louder.
What's the mic number? Is there a number on it? Hello, Z? Keep it around. Okay. I'll just try this.
No, I'll turn it up. I'll get it. I know what mic he's on.
I'll just, okay.
A little louder.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. A little higher. A little higher. Hello, hello. That's first.
No, right now.
Good early evening. Good early evening, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great. All right.
Good, good. I'm going to be your host for this lovely event. My name is Khalil Green, and I'm happy to be here. Tonight we are in celebration of Dr. Buckingham's releasing of his new book, Graded to Win, Conditioned to Lose, Defy the Odds, and Ignite Your Greatness and Achieve Success. Tonight we have a lovely program taking place this evening.
Just be mindful it's a directional mic, so when you look down and turn your head away, it's gonna for the audience. You gotta like stay on the mic. I'm sorry.
So, we have a wonderful program taking place this evening. I wanted to can I get everybody's attention, please?
1 second, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have your attention?
So good evening again. I'm your host. My name is Khalil Green. And tonight we are celebrating Dr. Buckingham's new release of his book entitled Graded to Win, Conditioned to Lose, Defy the Odds and Ignite Your Greatness and Achieve Success. So before we get into tonight's program, I wanted to talk to you all briefly about who Dr. Buckingham is to me specifically. So extending back to almost 14 and a half years ago, Dr. Buckingham and I met on the campus of Howard University. And we were actually working on a documentary regarding the state of Black relationships. And from there, I realized that we had some of the same shared interests. He was a psychotherapist, and I aspired to be a psychotherapist at the time, still in undergrad. And so he decided to take me under his wing. And I've been so fortunate for this man to be a part of my life for, again, almost 15 years. And so I'm thankful and I'm humbled to be a part of his journey and his continued success as a man, but also as a man that's in the community that is striving to ensure the success of not only Black men, but just our people in general. And so I want you all to keep that in mind as we celebrate not only this book, but who this man is. You know, in a moment where we're supposed to be in celebration of not only his book, but also, his coming birthday, he's still being a man of service. And so I think that's something to be commended and something to be celebrated. So with that being said, let's give you a thanks back to Dr. Buckingham. So coming first for this program tonight, we're going to have a poem written by actually Dr. Buckingham himself. It's called I'm Just a Black Man by Dr. Buckingham, but it will be performed by James Williams. You all give a warm welcome to James Williams.
Please excuse me if I don't say it as deeply as Brother Buckingham would say it, and I'm going to try to do my best. It's my role. I'm just a black man. I am a human, or even a man. Should I be proud and take a stand or accept what I am? Any questions? Do you understand? I have no goal. It's my role. I'm just a black man. I have no emotional support. I have no rights. For me, there is no sunshine or spotlight. I have no hope. I have no dream. Only nightmares where I suffer and I scream. I have no leaders to lead the way. I have no desire to fight for the next day. It is clear to see I mean nothing to most people or often feel defeated. I have no goal. It's my role. I am just a black man. I could look into your face because I am part of an unwanted black race. I live a life with children who are afraid, desperate for help, always afraid. I did not go, or I did not do good. It's this life I live. I have nothing more to say. I guess it is. I had to say this way. Finally, I tell you, I have no goal. It's my role. I'm just a black man.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for that reading. So, with that being said, there is still a lot of work to be done in the context of what Dr. Buckingham wrote and what it is the experience to be a black man. Starting in February, the next 8 weeks, Dr. Buckingham is going to be conducting a certified resilience coaching training, which will begin officially in February the 21st. For anybody that's interested in embarking on that journey, becoming a certified wellness and resilience coach, you will have the opportunity to sign up for that. It's actually a program that I plan on embarking on as well. So if there's anybody that's interested in that, please speak to Dr. Buckingham for further details. Next, we're going to have another poem read by Dr. Buckingham called I Can. So while we're waiting for Dr. Buckingham, anybody like to tell us where you're coming in from this evening? What parts of the DMV?
Maryland.
Baltimore.
Baltimore in the house.
Yeah.
Upper Marlboro, DC, Northeast. What part? Okay. Anacostia in the house, Southeast. Congress Heights. Okay, too good. No, I want to thank everybody that's here tonight. In the meantime, as we wait for Dr. Buckingham to prepare, I actually would like to call up our next artist. He is a top 30 artist. His name is Aljon Wright, and he's going to be performing the song "Created to Win."
Good evening, everybody. All right. All of my winners, can y'all just make some noise in here? Come on, if you're a winner. You know, the good thing about it, the fact that you're still here today and you were able to cross over into 2024 with a new mindset, a new determination already says that you're a winner. So put your hands together and give yourselves a hand for being a winner. We're here to celebrate Dr. B, and we're so glad to be here. I'm all the way from South Carolina. My name is Aljon Wright. And a few years ago, I wrote a song entitled Created to Win. Had no idea that God would inspire Dr. B to also write a book entitled Created to Win. And look at divine intervention. Here we are together. He has the book. I have the song. Looks like a good old duet. And who knows? I can read. Can he sing? We're going to find out. All right, so Created to Win. All right, let's celebrate tonight. Let's go. It's a party. It's a birthday party. Happy birthday, Dr. B. I've been through a lot, but I've been on top. Hey! I won't be defeated. I won't be defeated. Yeah, yes. I won't be defeated. Let's go and take that stand one more time. Let's put your hands together. If you know that you're a winner in this season. Listen, I was having lunch, breakfast with Dr. B, and we were just talking about how being a winner is a mindset, how being a winner is something that you actually have to put into action. It's one of those things, and so that's what this song is inspired by. So we're gonna go back. You play that second track really quickly. That's the one. Created to be. Nothing's gonna outside me. And I will succeed. Hey, if I want to say, nothing is day by day. Nothing getting in my way. My life begins today. Everywhere I walk, I'm gonna pass every test. I'm giving God all my best. My life will be a success. Hey, give it belongs to me. That thing I shall receive. When all I speak are true, my blessing will come through. I am a winner. No, hey. I won't be defeated. Say, I won't. Yeah. All right, now, okay. Do that. Walk it on top. Say, I won't be defeated. Say, he might say these things. I won't be defeated. Yeah. Can we just walk right here? Right here, right here, right here, right here. Any more singers out there? Nah? Any more singers out there? Keep clapping. Keep clapping. Won't be defeated. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Ooh, she's a pretty girl. All my winners over here. Come on, can everybody say it? One more time, keep on. With the whole lot of winners in here. Come on, make some noise. Yes, yes, yes. Keep winning in this year. Keep winning, keep inspiring others. God bless you. I love you. Happy birthday, Doctor.
All right, y'all give a hand clap for Mr. Aldo on right again. I can do better than that. Give him a strong hand clap. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all the man of the hour, my mentor, my friend, Dr. Dwayne Buckingham. Come to the stage.
All right, y'all. There we go.
I don't know if you announced it, ladies and gentlemen, if you do us a favor,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, those who are watching us in streaming, thank you all. I am excited to be here, and really excited. Today's my birthday, right?
Happy birthday!
Today, I'm really emotional because, again, God allows us to walk in our purpose. But I believe a lot of us mess up the path. Because when you were born, based on the title of my book, you were created to win. But many of us, because of certain conditions in our lives, we walk this path of life and we develop this mindset that we're losing because of certain things that happen to us. And so I'm excited because I've had an opportunity to live a life that's been up and down. But even today, some people reached out to me and they say, Dr. Buckingham, you're going to have the event because it's raining and the weather. And I said, you obviously didn't read the title of the book. Right? Because conditions should never determine your path. And so today, we have rain, which weather is a what? A condition. But you all are here because you all understand that there's something greater and bigger than rain. And so I appreciate all of you all who are sitting here in the room and all my family and friends who are watching us live. Now, before I actually get started with the book, I retired 2021 after serving 22 years. And I did my retirement speech. And before I started talking, I wrote this poem. And this poem is called I Can. And it goes like this. I can. I can accomplish whatever I put my mind to. If I believe, I can. Life will challenge me, but I will succeed because I can. Others may influence my destiny, but I determine it because I can. When others stop believing in me, I push on because I can. Turning to others for help is not easy. However, I do because I can. Revealing emotions is difficult, but I do because I can. At times, I lack direction and want to give up because I can. But God made me in his image, and whatever I cannot do, he can. Y'all get that? So, we can do some things by ourselves, but we can do all things through Christ. Right? So my mother was a spiritual woman, and I didn't say religious. There's a difference between religious and spiritual. And she was a spiritual woman, and so she instilled a lot of things in me. And so when I decided to write this book, what you will find in this book is a person who was raised by a mother who cleaned bricks for a living. You all know what bricklayers are? My mother got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she went and she took and she scraped bricks. And in order for her to actually make $10 a pallet was considered 100 bricks. She had to clean 100 bricks and then stack them just to get $10. So on a good week, she would bring home $100. And so that was because she taught me that the conditions that we lived in were not necessarily good, but your work ethic will help you push through. And so I'm going to not necessarily read from here, but share my story, because I want you all to actually read it, the book, Created to Win, Conditioned to Lose. That's why we're here today. Now, I do want to share some excerpts from it that are really important. But again, I'm going to share my story because I started off with my mother, because my mother did the best that she could do with what she had. And that is the foundation for being able to succeed, is recognizing that you have to do what you can with the cards that you were dealt. And I got that lesson at an early age. We lived in here, in this book. I'm going to go to the introductory. And in the introductory, I just kind of come to this place where I want to kind of explain a little bit about what it means to be created and what it means to be conditioned. what it means to be created and what it means to be conditioned. So when we talk about this book, throughout this book, I speak about my life with a focus on being conditioned to lose. I also share how I overcame horrible conditions to walk in my purpose and win in life. As you read this book, please pay attention, close attention to some key terms that I've highlighted throughout this book. Created and conditioned. And the reason why I want you to pay attention to these key terms throughout the book is to be created means that something must be constructed. Remember, see, when we talk about faith, all of us believe that faith without works is dead. So created is a verb, which means it's an action word. So when we talk about creation, we know that in Genesis 1:3 tells us that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was up on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved up on the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So when you create something, it's not a matter of what you just have in your head. It's a matter of what you believe and then the action you take to create, right? So this is what I talk about when we were saying we were created. There has to be something that does. According to Genesis 1, everything that God created was shaped and formed to serve a what? Purpose. How many of y'all believe you have a purpose? Do you believe you were just created just to be created? You were created with a purpose. How many of you all know what your purpose is? Now, I ask that question because many individuals identify and define their purpose based on what they do. Do you know your purpose is not about what you do? What is your purpose about? It's about who you are. What you do, many of us are defined in our purpose by the titles we have. We go to work and we get credentials and we get certification and then we do a particular job and we say that is our purpose. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is you being created to be a unique individual. And the first thing that you have to understand is that you were created to what? To win. Created to win. That's the first thing. It says, according to Genesis, again, everything that God created was shaped and formed to serve a purpose. My spiritual teachings taught me that God created humankind for a specific purpose, which involved winning on earth. So people say, Dr. Buckingham, you're very religious. Is this book about religion and spirituality? It's not. It's really about winning, but understanding your foundation. See, each and every one of us have to have a foundation that guides us through life. And my mother told me again the difference between religion and spirituality. So I'm a spiritual person. What's the difference again? See, spirituality, when you walk in the spiritual kind of realm, and I'm not talking about religion, I don't have to particularly fold to a common denomination or a certain word to be a great person. Spirituality for me is understanding the essence of your existence. That's what it means to be spiritual. Understanding the essence of your existence. How many of you understand the essence of your existence? One of the things that I know that the essence of my existence, what you read in this book, in chapter, is you'll read a chapter here called fatherlessness. I didn't have a father growing up. And many people say, well, your purpose was to become a doctor so you can help people. You know what my purpose in life was? To become a father. I find the greatest pleasure in being a father to DJ and Lady. And typically, you know how you can walk in your existence is pay attention for what you long for. See, I long for a father. At age 10, you'll read in my book where this man who's supposed to be my father, I never saw this man. And my mother, he would always be coming around. He was a truck driver. And he would come and he would pop up and he would give my brother and I $5 and then he would go away and wouldn't see him again. And because I was curious and I longed for a father, I asked my mother, who is this man? And with hesitation and much hesitation, she refused to really tell me. And one day I think she gave in because she knew that I was longing for something. My spirit was not right. And so she said, I'm going to allow you to go to his home. And it changed my life. Remember, conditions sometimes set us up for believing, and it set me on a path. I went to his home over a weekend. And when we get there, my mother, she was a Southern woman from Mississippi. And so what she taught us is that when we would get up, she would iron and press all of our clothes. And they would be pressed, and I would just have to put them on. And so I go to visit my father with who I thought was his living girlfriend, which is a different story. I said to her, she washed our clothes, and then she hung them out to dry, and she wanted me to put it on. And I looked, and I said, well, aren't you going to iron the clothes? My mother like, I'm not putting on these wrinkles. And she went to my father, and she said, he's a brat and he's spoiled. And my father came to me, and I'm going to get emotional because one of the things I'm talking about in my book that I talk about is real men are vulnerable. All this hard and being selfish. And I got that because I'm about to get a little emotional because it changed my life. This was a condition that made me understand my existence and my purpose to be a father. He said to me, I'm not your father anyway. Stop acting like that. I'm not your father anyway. I was 10 years old. Heart drop. Why would you say that to a 10-year-old boy? But he said, I'm not your father anyway. Stop acting like that. Went back to my mother. I never even said to her what he said. And when she asked me, did I ever want to go back? And I said, no. And from that moment on, he was dead to me. He was dead. And in this book, I talk about being fathers, and there's a day, and there's a chapter in here, and they asked me, I took on his last name. Dwayne L. Buckingham, his last name was Buckingham, and I took on his last name. The only one that took on his name, my young brother have a different name. And when people ask me, how do I feel about him? He unfortunately passed when I was a sophomore in college, and I got a phone call, and the phone call was, William died. Now, William was his name. Now, when they called me, I had a high school friend named William. And so when they called me and said William died, I thought they were talking about my high school friend, and my heart dropped. And they said, it was your father. I had no emotion because he was already dead to me. So I navigated life longing for a father. And so when I talk about purpose and existence, I knew that a part of my journey was not just to be Dr. Buckingham, but if you create life, you have to nurture life. And so I walked proudly to be a father to DJ and Layla because that was something I longed for. So the question I have for you all is, what do you long for? What is it that's missing in your soul that you wake up and then you question yourself and you ask yourself, how could I be a good father if I never had a father? How many of you all have questioned yourself to be able to walk in positions where you've not had any guidance and you doubt yourself and you question whether or not you can make it? That's part of my story in here of fatherlessness. And what that did, it created a cycle of psychological, what I call a psychological death. In here, there's a chapter that talks about psychological death. And psychological death basically means you're walking in the flesh, but you're dead in the spirit and the soul. Do you know people like that? They walk around, they have our titles, but behind all those titles and all those credentials, they're dead. And they're living a psychological death where you basically have been taught to suppress your pain. You've been told to be a strong black woman. You've been told to be a strong black man. That real men don't cry. We tell our kids, big boys don't what? Cry. So how do we have a 5-year-old that we condition them, the key word is condition them, not to cry at 5, and then we expect them to cry at 35? They've been conditioned that way. My life, when I talk about my mother, and I know you are expecting me to read the book, and everything I'm sharing with you is in the book, and I'm going to get to this place where I'm going to transition from the book title is Created to Win, Conditioned to Lose. Defy the odds, ignite your greatness, and achieve success. And what I'm talking to you all about now is these things called the odds, because the odds were stacked against me. I was shot in the arm at age 8. I saw my first dead body at age 10, walking home from school. Back in those days, there were crime families. And to this day, this is the psychology, when I say a psychological death. The first dead body I saw is the name of a man named Rodney Woods. Here I am today celebrating 51 years, and I remember his name as if it was yesterday. Walking home from school, drug deal gone bad. They get behind him. They shoot up his car. He jumps out the car, and he runs into the alley, what we call in the ghetto. And as he runs into the alley, they catch up with him, and they shoot him all up. Blood everywhere on the wall. And because we live in the hood, the police and ambulance don't show up like that. So we all were getting out of school. And as we were walking down the street, guess what all of us saw at 10 years old? Blood and body all over the place. Psychologically registered in my head. And the guys who killed him were standing in the crowd to see if anybody was saying anything. Condition. Mentally, I was already gone. First dead body. Went on to get shot in the arm. Riding down the street, got shot in the arm. We lived in what we call the cold water flats. When we say this in 1980, we lived in the cold water flats. You know what the cold water flats are? We lived in these row houses, and there were 3 rooms. And I didn't say 3 bedrooms, I said 3 rooms, like shotgun style. This is in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm not talking about in the Delta, Mississippi, the country. We're talking about in the Midwest, in the city. It was 3 rooms, a living room, a middle room, and a kitchen. And my younger brother and I shared the middle room with my mother, and my sister slept on the front room on the couch. I'm second youngest out of 8 children. And when I say the cold water flats, is because the room that we sat in, which was the middle room, all it had in there was beds, a kerosene heater, and wood stove. And when we wanted to heat up, we had to go out and get a buggy and go to vacant homes and get wood and bring it back so we can keep warm. And the kitchen had nothing in it except a refrigerator and a sink to wash. And the bathroom was connected to the kitchen with only a toilet. No shower, no bathtub. And so what we consider to be fine dining was standing in the bucket, a pan, and we had to warm the water up on the wood stove, stand in the bucket or pan and wash ourselves. And that was fine bathing at its conditions. We had to wear secondhand clothes. My mother went to what they call the veteran village for veterans. And people would donate the secondhand clothes, and we had to go there and get those clothes. And when we would go to school, you all know what happens in a black community. You get clowned, you get joned on. And so I had this issue. I liked my mother, but I had problems with her. Can I be real with you all?
Sorry.
How many of you all, my siblings would say, you put her on a pedestal because she was a queen and she did all she could. But what I saw as a child is that my suffering was a result of her decisions. So on one hand, I loved her, and on the other hand, I had a problem with her. Because why could not I have a father who really was my father? Why could not I have a shower and hot water? Why did I have to wear secondhand clothes and go to school and be teased? Why that when I was actually in the kindergarten, I had a speech impairment, and I could pronounce certain words, and the teachers would beat you back then. And then you would go home and you would get beat again. And so then I created this mindset of, who cares about me? I'm all in this by myself. And she did the best that she could. But what am I talking about? What am I sharing with you all? Conditions. These are all conditions that had me thinking that I was a loser at a young age. At age 6 years old, I started to ask myself 2 profound questions, which you will find in this book. Question number 1, who am I? Question number 2, does my life have meaning? What 6-year-old should be asking those kind of questions? A 6-year-old who's traumatized. A 6-year-old who doesn't know his way. A 6-year-old who's been conditioned to believe that he was designed or created to fail. This is what you will find in here. And I share these things because most people would say, how did you turn the corner? Like, how did you grow up and be shot in the arm and live through Crips and Bloods, gang-infested neighborhoods? And to make matters even worse, I lost my mother to her battle of cancer at 17. So not only did I not have a father, my mother passed at 17. And what you will read in this book is the process of how she passed. Is my mother would work hard, as I was telling you all, cleaning bricks. And she would take us every Saturday to Church's Chicken and to whatever she could afford. And we would get on the bus. And I can remember this as clear as day. We'd get on the bus, and my mother couldn't remember where she was at. And as we were getting off, we rung the bell, and she sat there. And she didn't, and we called out. And my mom's nickname was Top. We call her Top. I didn't call my mom, we called her Top. We say Top. And she sat there, she was dazed. And so I said, called her again, and she got up as if she came through. And so we got off the bus. And as we were getting home, we were walking home, she began to, again, not necessarily know where she was at. So I called my siblings. I said, something's not quite right. And they said, well, just pay attention to it. A couple more days go by, and my brother and I and her sitting in the front yard. And she says, where's my damn rent money? You all took my rent money. And she had already paid the rent, but she had forgotten that she had paid the rent. So I called my siblings again, and I said, something's not right. And they said, take her to the doctor. This time I'm thinking about 14, 15, or something, 16. They said, take her to the doctor. We take her, and they do some minor examinations, because we didn't have good credit, right? We have insurance, so we didn't have the good stuff where you could really get thoroughly examined. So they just said she'll be okay. We take her home. Only for a couple of days later, I hear her screaming, Wayne, help. She had fell out the bed, and she was on the floor. And so I walked, and my brother and I, again, I'm in high school, we didn't know what to do, and we helped pick her up. I called my sisters, I'm crying, like, something's not right. And they basically said, we're on our way. We take her to the hospital, and we get to the hospital, they check her in, and they said, we all sit down in the waiting room, they come back, and they say, she has cancer. And it started, all these times we go into these small clinics and she's not getting the help that she needs. She has cancer, and it started in her stomach. But because we don't have good insurance, and as black people and black men, black women, we don't always get the examinations we need, the cancer in her stomach spread it to her breast, and then it spread to her brain. And so when we get there, they say she has brain cancer, and she has 6 months to live. I'm 17 at this time. So I run out, and they said, what we're not going to do is we're not going to tell her, because my mother was a fighting woman. So they said sometimes when people don't know the severity of their illness, they will still fight. And so they said, don't tell her. I couldn't bear with it. So they said, you all can take her home for her last 6 months, and she can just live in peace at home. So my sister took her home, and I could not stay in the house. So I ran to the streets. This is another condition. I started to hustle. I became a hustler. I ran to the street because I could not be in that environment to see my mother, this strong woman who could clean bricks and do whatever she needed to do to take care of us, now lay up and could not do anything for herself. So I ran and I ran. And one day, I get a beep, and it says, your mother coded, and she had a do not necessitate. But she had a slight pulse, and so they had to do something. So they rush her to the hospital. She gets to the hospital, and when they get her there, too late. She's gone. Now they told us we had 6 months with her. This was 3 weeks. So at 17, I was without a father. I was without a mother. I had to try to figure out how to navigate life at that age. And so you will read that in here, because that's only one of many actually conditions that you would actually read in this book. Born illegitimate and raised fatherless. Lived in the cold water flats. No proper shelter. I repeated the first grade and the second grade because I had a speech impediment, and was considered a behavioral problem. I had a meaningless existence. I had no idea of why I even had to live. What you're reading here is Cancer 1 is what I just shared with you, because Cancer 1, it took the only person in my life that ever did right by me. Cancer 1 is what you read in this book. But then God tried to set us on different paths, and what you read in this book as well, in chapter 6, it says, new beginning, new pain. Because not only did when my mother passed, I did, unfortunately, and I'm saying this publicly because we have a tendency to judge people without knowing their plight. We have a tendency to judge people and pass judgments if we should be better when we don't know where they come from. So I began to hustle. And I hustled because I was determined to do something different and get out of St. Louis, Missouri. So I say this to say that it's not right, but it's what I did. And when I say I hustled, I got enough money, $10,000. And I ran off to college because that was a new beginning of what I thought was a new beginning. But on my way to college, because I had never driven on the highway, St. Louis, Missouri to Mississippi is a 6-hour drive, but I had never driven on the highway. So I'm so excited to leave. So at 12 midnight, I get in my car so excited, had been up all day. I'm a young guy. I can do everything and anything. I'm not listening. My auntie and everyone else tells me, take your butt to sleep and get up and drive in the morning. But do I listen? I don't listen. I get in that car and I take off at 12 midnight, only to find myself at 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning in the ditch. I fell asleep at the steering wheel. And not only did I fall asleep at the steering wheel, but I fell asleep at the steering wheel doing about 80 miles per hour. And as I went off the side of the highway into the ditch, the car started to jump. And God, I'm supposed to be here because I was created to win. Because as the car started to jump, I bring up my head. And right before me is a tree, an oak tree. And who you think I'm with? Going head on into this oak tree. And I lift my head up and I turn the steering wheel and it hits the side of the car. Demolishes the car. I had a picture of my mother in there, a basketball. The car hit so hard against that tree, we couldn't even find the basketball or the picture of my mother. It flew outside. And as I sat there, a man saw me go outside of the highway and he comes back on and he says, "Oh, you okay? Get out of the car because the car is still running and there's a lot of gas that's exerting. They thinking the car is going to blow." So he gets me out of the car. I get a U-Haul and I drive on to Jackson State University to start my new beginning. Now, everybody has to have people in their lives that's going to be there for them. My siblings jump in the car, drive 6 hours, come to my dorm room. They want to lay eyes on me to make sure I'm okay. This is my new beginning. I get there, I get a 4.0, make the president of this first semester. Because I have to make this work. This is all I got. And so this is the new beginning. I'm around progressive black people, black men, black women who trying to learn. Jackson State University, HUBC, I'm excited. But the pain is right around the corner. And that pain is this young lady that I met in psychology class because I knew with all this, who am I, does my life have meaning? And you all know I had to do something in psychology. I was messed up. I'm looking for some kind of meaning in existence. So in my psychology class, I meet this young lady, and she's pregnant at the time. I don't really care. We're just friends. And then I meet this young lady. She's pregnant by a guy who's crazy that I know little nothing about. They have the baby, and this guy started to harass me. He shows up on my job with guns. He threatens me. He do all these kind of things. And he showed up one time where we had to physically get into a physical altercation. And that led me to start carrying a gun. So here I am in college, supposed to be there being educated, and I'm walking around with a gun because I don't know if this guy's going to try to take my life. So now, what was supposed to be a new beginning is what? New pain. This so-called relationship or friendship I had with this young lady was one that actually tore me down to where I created what you read in this book. It's called psychological trauma, and it's a psychological trap. You all know what psychological trap is? A psychological trap is when you create this cycle of being trapped in what I call the 3 F's. The first F is called fear. The second F is called fixation. And the third F is called firmness. Fear of being hurt created a certain amount of fixation. Now, I was dealing with this young lady. She had a baby. And so the fear was this guy had threatened my life because of this, his mother, the baby and this woman. So I had this fear of dealing with women with kids because as long as she had a kid by another man, that man was always going to be present. So if I ever met a woman who had a child, she could be Mother Teresa, I would run. Because that fear inside of me told me that I had no control over the situation. So I became fixated. And I became fixated on not being hurt. So guess what happened to men who become fixated on not being hurt? They spend the rest of their life running. You all know that it happened to me when I was 19 years old, and I ran from relationships and love for 20 years. Because I was fixated on not being hurt, and then I became firm. And you know, when you hear people say they have standards, I refer to that as being firm. Because they'll say, I don't date a man like this. I don't date a woman like this. And what I will tell you is ask them where that comes from. And 9 times out of 10, there's some pain there that they have not dealt with. And so they set these standards and become firm in them. And what you looking at as to be a value, beneath that value that's what they say, is actually fear. So I thought I had a new beginning in college, and it turned out to be pain. Just one more stake in my life where I was not supposed to win. But when I was in college, in chapter 7, it says friends with death. Do you all know I've experienced and exposed to so much death? After a while, I just say I'm friends with death. When I was in college, I got the first phone call from my sister. My 17-year-old nephew was shot down walking home from school, drive-by shooting. No arrest was made. 17 years old. I got a second call. One of my childhood friends killed at the gas station. Robbery gone wrong, killed. Nobody was arrested. I get a third call. My nephew and my cousin are in the room accidentally playing with a gun. He shoots my cousin in the head and kills him. Get another call. So after a while, I'm like, what is this thing with me and death? I am going home on winter break, and I'm driving. And as I'm on the highway, I get a piece of ice, and I slide across the pathway to the other side of the highway, and diesel trucks are coming. And by the grace of God, the highway just stopped. But when I went across the pavement, I hit the rail. And guess what was at the bottom of the rail? Death, creeks, a straight dead down. Satan. So I began to think, like, God, for every corner that I turn to seem like I'm winning, there's 2 or 3 setbacks. So what I just shared with you all, when you read this book, you say, Dr. Buckingham, this is pretty sad. Those what I refer to as defy the odds. Because as I was trying to navigate life, the last chapter in part 1 of this book, which is Defy the Odds, is called Manhood Misunderstood. Because one of the conditions I knew growing up in the neighborhood was that a lot of the men in my family and friends, they were womanizers. So they used women as tokens, as statues. And so at age 14, 15, a woman to me was nothing but a trophy. And I say manhood misunderstood because that's what they did. 70% of black kids are born out of wedlock. Do we not have problems in our community? 70% of black kids are born out of wedlock. So when I say in this chapter, manhood misunderstood, we got some problems. I had no idea what manhood even looked like. Real men don't cry. Real men don't ask for help. Real men don't pay for the cow that they can get the milk for free. This is crazy. But was it right? I knew it was not right. I told you I had a good mother. I knew right from wrong. But guess what it was for me? It was commonplace. Because when you look to the left, this brother was doing it. And you look to the right, this brother was doing it. And I didn't say it was right. I'm not justifying. I'm helping you understand how conditions and environments shape your behavior and your mindset. That's chapter 1. All those was odds. I say, Dr. Buckingham, after that, is there anything good about this book? Like, I'm going to have to go to church and read part 1. Like, you define the odds was tough, brother. You lost your mother, you lost your father, you got shot in the arm. I mean, life, you fell asleep at the steering wheel. But guess what, you all? God is good, because along all this, in part 2 of the book, it talks about igniting your greatness. And in igniting your greatness, what I learned is that the first thing you have to do in chapter 9 is seek wise counsel for guidance and encouragement. And the key word here was what kind of counsel? Wise. Wise, because you can get a lot of counsel from a lot of places that you should get counsel from. So that's the first thing that I encourage individuals to do when you're trying to ignite your greatness. Now, what is greatness? What do you all think is greatness? How do you all define greatness? What does that actually look like? What's your all thoughts about greatness? What does it mean? Let's try a little participation here. What is greatness? Success. What else? What is greatness?
Being the best at something.
Being the best at something. What else? What makes a person great?
Listen.
Wisdom. What else? Impact.
Living on purpose.
Now, you all think you all great, right? I'm looking at it. Y'all haven't thought about this? Am I the only one that wrote a book and was thinking about greatness? Endurance. Perseverance. Well, what else makes a person great?
Being on purpose.
Being on purpose. So,
Someone online said consistency.
consistency and mindset. What else? Do you all know that part of you being able to transform and move through your life, a big thing about greatness, I tell people, is that you have to learn how to tap in to your innate gifts. How many of y'all believe that you were born with innate gifts and you were born with what you already need? How many of y'all believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything that I went through, people say, how did you turn it around? You know what my gifts are? Resiliency and empathy. Do you know your gifts?
Yeah.
Do you know the things that make you great? One of my gifts that helped me ignite greatness is resiliency. And when I teach people about resiliency, because I just talked to you about define the odds and adversity. So on the other side of adversity is resiliency. And so resiliency, the way that I actually define resiliency as a gift that helped me ignite greatness, is resiliency is the ability to actually face adversity and bounce forward. Have you all heard of the definition of resiliency where people say you bounce back? You know why I don't define and teach resiliency to bounce back? Because you can bounce back to a state of brokenness. I just told you all my life was almost like hell. So if I have a high and my baseline is low in trauma, what am I bouncing back to? Trauma. So when we teach resiliency, we teach people how to bounce forward, which means you have to develop certain kind of skills and knowledge in order to be able to do that. So when I ask people about their greatness, which I talk about here in the book, I'm asking you to think about your unique gifts and your unique talents, the things that make you great. And what I would tell you to do is I say in here, greatness is subjective. What does that mean? It's different for different people. Do not allow people to knock you by defining and comparing their greatness to your greatness. It is a subjective process that you have to tap into. So we talk about greatness. Seek wise counsel is one of the things I talk about here in this chapter. I also want you to look within. You know, I do 80% of marital counseling. And when people have relationship problems, they have a tendency to point where? Outside. Do you know 90% of your struggles start from where? Within. Psychology 101 tells us that all of us start a process that goes like this. I think, I feel, I do. Now, it's easier for me not to think, but to pay attention to how I feel and give it a target, which is you. So how can you ignite your greatness if your greatness is defined on things outside of you? I can't be the best wife I can be. I can't be the best husband I can be. I can't be the best son I can be because of my mother, my spouse, and this and that. So how can you walk in greatness when everything that you want to be, you're defining it outside of you? So in order to ignite your greatness, it tells you to look within to identify the qualities that make you great. When I do counseling with people, I ask them, what makes you great? Do you know when I ask them what makes them great, which I'm looking for positive qualities, they hesitate. They're like, well, I think I'm this way. And then when I ask them, what can you work on? Well, I don't communicate. They can give it to me like that. So if you focus on more negative than you good, what's going to manifest in your life? Bad. So when we're looking at qualities in this, we're telling you to look within. How many of you understand develop winning expectations? You know, some of you all have expectations of yourself and others that are not winning. And you know why they're not winning? Because they're not realistic. If no one ever taught you how to communicate, how do you learn how to communicate effectively? But then you will get into a relationship and you expect for this person to be able to meet your needs. And then I would say, can you meet your own needs? Expectations. Develop rational expectations. So these are the things I just shared about igniting your greatness. And as a mental health professional, the one that I really have to talk about, which is in here you'll find in chapter 13, is maintain a positive mindset. How many of you look for the good and bad? Let's keep it real. Like, really looking at yourself. How many of you all are quick and your default is to strike out when something bad happens? Hands. Oh, all you all don't strike out like me? I'm the only one messed up. I guess that's why I wrote the book. I'm the only one that when something go wrong, I sometimes want to strike out. I learned how to regulate. But you want to learn how to strike out. Because maintaining a positive mindset, the quickest way I can help you understand this is to use my quote around resiliency. Resilient people find solution in problems. In contrast, troubled people find problems in every solution. So what's your mindset? Do you actually look for solutions or do you look for problems? Or are you one of those people when someone gives you a solution, you said, ain't gonna work. We already did that. Is that maintaining a positive mindset? No. So how can you ignite greatness with that kind of mindset? It is inevitable and it's impossible. So the last thing I'm going to talk about igniting your greatness, and I promise you I'm going to get to, because I want to do some Q&A. In chapter 15, walk boldly in your purpose. How many of y'all know your purpose again? Back to that. Like, share with me. What is your purpose? Anyone who's bold enough? Because it said walk boldly in your purpose. I'm in front of you because I'm bold in my purpose. I was created to win and be a father and a lot of things. What's your purpose? Do you walk boldly in it? Or do you get timid when the conditions are not right? So these are the kind of questions I want you to ask. And then I promise you, I'm giving you a summary because I don't want to read to you. I just want to give it to you so you can think about it. And when you get the book, which also comes with the journal, you'll be able to process this information. So, part one, defy the odds. I feel like I was born and raised in hell. Part two, I tapped into my greatness by understanding that your greatest asset is your mindset. Your mindset can be your greatest asset or your greatest liability. And it all depends on how you choose to use your mindset. And that's the first step to being able to ignite your greatness. Now, what about part three, achieving success? A lot of people have come to me and say, Dr. Buckingham, I've heard of all that trauma you had. Matter of fact, individuals said to me, I would have never imagined that you had the kind of trauma you had based on how you appear today. And you know why that's possible for a lot of us? Is that I have this process where I call a lot of us, we get hurt, and we're going to do one or two things when we hurt. We either going to hide or we're going to heal. What most people do? Hide. What do they hide behind? Money, credentials, big houses, cars, hiding pain. But whatever you do not deal with in the dark, it will come to light. So you really can't run from it. So people say, Dr. Buckingham, how do you actually achieve success? So you know what I did? I actually came up with this acronym. And I actually use it to help individuals understand that success has certain characteristics that need to be built around it. The first thing that I thought about when I started looking at how does one achieve success? Become a scholar. Now, when I say become a scholar, I'm not referring to academically getting degrees. What I'm referring to is reading and equipping yourself and your mind with knowledge. One of the greatest things that helped me is I began to understand philosophy. Because philosophy helped me understand the nature of life and people. And so when I say become a scholar, what I mean is become well learned. How many of you are well learned? How many of you actually read books? And I ask this question specifically because I do counseling with families who have children. And they want their kids to be great. And when I ask them where do you invest their time and their money, and they invest more time and money in sports than they do in academic books and reading. So when we're talking about becoming scholarly, we are referring to a process of becoming a learned person. Act with a sense of urgency. Time wait on nobody. So this acronym that I created, success, the S is what? Become scholarly. The U is act with a sense of urgency. The C is be consistent. The other C is commit to a course of action. The E is get the right exposure. The S is perform superbly. The second S is make self-care a priority. So this is how I've achieved success. I've used these strategies and I've used them effectively to overcome all those odds that I just shared with you all. To where I would say to people, how do you go from poverty to pension? I'm getting a pension, y'all. Like I woke up as a child to food stamps. Now I wake up to financial security. Created to win, conditioned to lose. And when you read this book, I promise you, I'm only giving you the tip-bird of what's inside of it. But you would actually be cheating yourself big time if you did not purchase this. And the reason why I say it to you, because it's not just pages in a book. I believe it's a transformation of God that will empower you to exchange life shift of adversity and hardship to lifestyle filled with favor and happiness. So, created to win, conditioned to lose. Defy the odds, ignite your greatness, and achieve success. And the companion journal, the companion journal goes along with this. And the reason why I wrote a journal is because a lot of people actually read. And have you all ever heard this saying that knowledge is power? And I start laughing when I hear people say that. Because knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. It doesn't matter what you have in your head. It matters what you do with it. So you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can read this book. And you can go through it and you can be inspired. But I wrote the journal because in this journal, it questions you to ask some of those tough, hard, difficult questions that show up in your life so that you can become the next Dr. Buckingham and write your book on Created to Win. But you have to go through the process. So this companion journal, don't read the book. and walk around with a bunch of knowledge in your head and do not apply it. Apply the lesson that you learn in your life to get to the next level. So I believe that knowledge is the beginning, but the application of knowledge is true power. And so we have a book and we have a journal. And when you journal, the journal is not about just taking notes. The journal is about processing. And the purpose of processing is to gain clarity on how you're going to walk in your purpose, to gain clarity on your true existence and why you were created. This is the purpose of journaling. It gives you insight and deep thought. Because if you have drive-by conversations in your head, you're going to have drive-by relationships. I just gave y'all a nugget. I should have got some classes.
You're processing.
Yeah. You can't have drive-by in your head and think that it's going to reflect in your life. So please process information in here. The last thing I want to do is I want to open and ask for questions. But I have quotes throughout the book. And when I was dealing with this whole idea of being meaningless or having this meaningless existence, there is a quote that I have, and it's called Quotes by Doc. I have an actual clothing line. See, God took me from poverty. I'm so creative. I done wrote books. I done did documentaries. You tell me. Now, how could a poor boy do all of that? How could a poor boy do all that? And here's one of the quotes that I have about 700. These are my personal quotes that you'll find through each one of these chapters. But this quote reads this: a man's character should not be defined by his wrongs, but by his desire to right his wrongs. What is that quote about? I'm going to read it again. A man's character should not be defined by his wrongs, but by his desire to right his wrongs. What is it about? What am I speaking to? Like if you deal with a man who done wrong, you would judge him by his wrongs. But what is it really speaking to? How many of you have done wrong and you don't want people to define you by the wrong that you've done, but by the nature of your character? Because we've all done wrong. But you want people to define you not by your wrongs, but by your willingness to right your wrongs. And this is the thing that we call grace. How many of you all want some grace? I needed a whole lot of grace in my life. My wife gave me a whole lot of grace. I tell you, I had a father, lost my mother. I was a womanizer, grew up in the ghetto, violence, crimes. I needed a whole lot of grace to stand up here today, be talking about created to win and conditioned to lose. And I believe many of us do. One of the other quotes that you will find in here, it would tell you failure is not determined by your setback, but by your unwillingness to fight back. Do you all know that if you fail, they don't make you a failure? Right. You only fail when you stop fighting back. So as long as you got some fight in you, you got some win in you. So these are nuggets. I have 750 personal quotes. The little poor boy. And how is that possible? Is I sat, I sought wise counsel, and I actually began to look and pay attention to how things show up in my life. And this is the last quote that I will share. This is when I talk about my mother in chapter 5, when I say cancer 1. This is the quote that, and it came out of my soul just because of the pain I experienced. Ooh, every time I said when I lost my mother. And the quote, sometimes trauma chooses us at the worst time, but we are responsible for how we choose to cope with our trauma. Mm-hmm. And why do I say that? Because a lot of us walk around and we feel entitled to attack other people because of our pain. I was definitely not in a position to lose my mother at 17. Because trauma, that was the wrong time. But that doesn't give you the right to choose and treat people badly because trauma chose you at the wrong time. Y'all should have got an amen on it, because I know some of y'all like sometimes. Because I ain't the only one that is walking around beat up and looking at my pain and feeling that I was entitled to get at other people because they don't understand me. You don't understand my plight. So if I've said anything that's been inspiring to you, I promise you, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Because I did not read verbatim what's in here. When people look at the title and say Dr. Buckingham, that comes with a whole lot of stuff that comes to it. So what I'd like to do really quick, because as I was going through this process, God has put it on my heart to focus on black men. I've been in this business and doing therapy for over 25 years now. And majority of the work that I do is with women. Because women step up, they come to the place, and they're ready and willing to heal. And I work with a lot of men who have ego problems, pride problems. And I tell them that you're not going to go far because you can't let go of your ego. So I've started this program. And at this moment, I want to call the brothers up. I created this program called Black Male Elevation. Black Male Elevation. And the motto for this program, I took 12 guys and we went on a 12-week journey to do some healing. And the motto for the program is, you can co-sign my healing, not my pain. Because what I'm saying to us, specifically in the black community, I don't need you to beat me up. I've been beat up. I come from the gutter. So if you're not in my space to co-sign my healing, you definitely are not in the space to co-sign my pain. Because, you know, you have some people in your circles, I talk about in the book, to where when you say, I'm entitled to be mad, I didn't have no father growing up. Did nobody do nothing for me? And people come right behind you like, girl, you right. Girl, that nigga treated you wrong. You co-signing what? Pain. How do you empower people by co-signing pain? You do not. You keep them stuck in that same loser's mindset where they feel like the world owes them something and they're entitled. So our motto is, you can co-sign my healing, not my pain. So I want the brothers to come up. I have some of the brothers here, Marcus and Rico and James. Come on up real quick. I want to introduce you all to these brothers. So I want to just share the stage, because my birthday ain't about me. I said I was created to win. But when God gives you a purpose and mission, you actually do more to kind of bring people into that space and into that circle. So these guys right here, and we're doing this publicly because when I say real men are vulnerable, that's what this is. Like, we spent 12 weeks like crying. All the sessions were supposed to be an hour. And each session was 2 hours, 3 hours. These brothers broke. I'm broke. We all broke. Like, we went in. But at the end of that, and they're here now with the Black Men Elevation, because I believe that part of my purpose was be a father. But the other part of my purpose was to help other men become the fathers that they need to be in our communities. Because I truly believe that nobody is going to save us and elevate us but us. And so what you have on the stage right here are men who said, you know what? I can relate to being broken. I can relate to your trauma. And I'm tired of the pain. So let's put in that work. So that's what they're done. You want to share anything about your experience or what you took from it and how did it help you or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, congratulations, Doc, first off. This is my event. Thank you for having us for it. I'll say, you know, for me, very similar background as Doc. And this program gave me the opportunity to get with like-minded brothers. I'm a hip-hop fan, and one of my favorite artists, Andre 3000, said, nobody's an island on the peninsula, maybe. I think it's me, we feel like our problems are only our problems. We're the only one going through what we go through. And he created an environment with a group of brothers, you know, that find success how you want success, all successful in our own right, all doing great things in our own right. And he gave us an opportunity to learn how to be better, how to show up better in all the situations of our lives. So I still go back and read the notes, you know, on a pretty frequent basis, because this is something where I got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of brokenness and, you know, trying to put the mosaic back together, put the pieces that he gave the program for us to do on that. So thank you again.
First of all, I give thanks to God for us all being here. This, you know, doing all this weather that we got here. Happy birthday, Doc. Once again, we give a hand to Doc for his birthday. You know, coming together with this group during this time frame was a blessing. You know, it's times that brothers cannot share in their own hearts. You know, sometimes we try to share with others, and we try to share with our women and our wives, and you know, the people that are around us, our jobs. There's no understanding. So we was able to come together with these brothers in this time frame. We was able to grow within ourselves. We was able to share the pain that we need to grow. It took us to the next level. Not only just for the next level for ourselves, but to help us with our wives, our moms, our brothers, our sisters, the pain that we dealt back in the history of our time. And so, you know, this growing period gave us a time to be able to reflect on where we came from and where we're trying to go. And so at this time, you know, I just thank God for Dr. Buckingham being there to help us get to where we need to be. And we all continue growing. As my brother said, I look at my notes often and check back and I'm like, all right, I felt that one, brother. Like Dr. Buckingham, get off my shoulder, get off my shoulder. You know, but it's been a blessing to be able to use the knowledge that I've learned, and I hope to continue to grow with the brothers. I continue moving forward. And actually, as I go, I'm hoping to be able to spread it out, being part of this team, that we can actually help other brothers to grow and become a better man within themselves, so they can be a better husband, a better father, a better person in the community, a better person in the job. Thank you.
My upbringing definitely wasn't as bad as Dr. Buckingham's, but with that being said, that doesn't mean I don't still have things to work on. Like, as a black man in this society, my mom has always told me that things won't be as easy for me as it will be for others. So there's just some things that I have to focus on and excel at. And I definitely, like, ever since I met this man, I've definitely been thinking about myself differently and what I need to do to be the best man possible. I don't have kids, I'm getting 18. I don't have kids, anything like that. But I didn't have a father in my life. So when I do have kids, them having me in their lives is a necessity. So it's a non-negotiable. So that's just the top priority. So it's been just always been an inspiration.
Peace, everybody. Once again, Brother Buckingham, congratulations again. Good turnout, love the energy. As Brother James and Rico said, very similar backgrounds. I think they exaggerated a little bit about too how he used to. The cohorts went along. We were thirsty every week. You know, and James like, man, we need to get this back going again. Because they're saying, we had a connection, and we got that connection because we built trust, right? You hear about it, you know, you think about it, you hear what other black men going through, but not too many of them want to share because it's the ego, and I get it, trust me. You know, again, similar backgrounds. I met my father one time. He transitioned about 2 years ago. I got the call, same thing. You know, mother's story, right? So, you know, self-regulating is a real thing. You come from an environment where you see the issues there, right? 30 years in the military, you know, not the regular military, but going through some things that, as Doc said, new situations, more pain, right? And that stuff, if it stays in you, it's going to come out one way or another, right? With your kids, your wife, your mother, your father, your family members, your dog, your cat, your fish. It's going to come out. And you want it to come out in a healthy way. So in this, with the quote by Doc, right? You can't don't co-sign my pain. That's one of my things now.
You know, nobody, you know, you're working to get what you want to get to be a positive, the best human being you can, best man, you know, friend, son. But it takes work, it takes a tool. And if you don't have those tools, you know, I'm gonna try to cut it short. Had a plumber today at the property. And yeah, he got a lot of knowledge. I'm looking at how you gonna apply that knowledge. He said, okay, power vent, leak here, drain, gas, application of that knowledge, right? Because I'm not gonna pay a grip for this water heater. All right, so once again, congratulations, brother. We got all, you know, we can talk, That's how we was on the court 3-4 hours a night, right? And you know, it's a blessing and it's a process and it's a choice. Peace. I'll say it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I will not belabor a whole lot more. Again, I'm going to go into some Q&A at this point and answer some questions for you all online, as well as we got some people streaming online and things for you all in the room. Because again, I just want to be able to share, as I just did, share the stage. If you know me, you know that once you come into my space, I create what I call the love circle. And once you're in that love circle, you try, you done. Right? So these brothers is part of that love circle. And then there's plenty of women and men in this room that I'm not going to get into name calling, because if you're in this room, you're already in my love circle, you know. So when I look at you, and I have looked at everyone, whether it's my first time meeting you or if I've known you, if you're in this room, you stuck. You're done. It's a wrap. You're part of my love circle now. What that means is that please do not hesitate to reach out. Because these programs that we have with the Black Male Elevation, that was the first cohort that we had. And believe me, because that went so well, I decided to create 3 more. And so we have a Created to Win cohort from 8 to 12-year-old. And people say, why you started talking about 8 to 12-year-old? Do you remember, I remember I had my first 2 profound questions about life at what age did I say? 6. Why is it we think that our young kids at that age are not capable of experiencing pain and understanding life? Why do we push off how they feel and just say, oh, they're too young? Right. They're just figuring it out. I just said at 6 years old, I was asking, who am I? And does my life have meaning? So my program, 8 to 12-year-old, we're focusing on, I think, one of the greatest skills that Black male and Black females need, and it's called emotional intelligence. Because IQ doesn't get you through the kind of trauma that I experienced. IQ with EQ. How many of you are familiar with emotional intelligence? And the 4 domains of emotional intelligence, which part of the chapter I talked about here is look within, because the first domain of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. The second domain is self-regulation. The third domain is social awareness. And the 4th domain is relationship management. But guess what? Most of you have trauma and you look to try to manage the relationship without managing yourself. You see how that doesn't work? The first domain is self-awareness. Now, some of you actually try to regulate what you're not aware of. So when I do my groups, I say to individuals, I got a certified Created to Win empathy resiliency coaching program starting on February 21st. And people typically say, Dr. Buckingham, you always want to start with me. Like, I didn't come here to learn about me. And what I would tell them is that you all know 80% of mental health professionals don't do no self-work. I'm going to repeat that. I have 3 degrees. And I'm sharing this publicly to give you all the process. So when you go talk to these mental health professionals, you know what's standing in front of you when they talk about doing that work. Our process is very simple. You go, you do some class work, you get the degree, and then you graduate and you have to get 3,000 hours of supervision. Now, guess what the supervision is focusing on? Other people. How well you're going to do with your clients. So what that supervision looks like is me going in and the supervisor saying, what did you say and what did the person say? And what the supervisor is checking for is to make sure I'm not transferring my issues onto the client, because this is about the client. So you can have mental health professionals who have 25 years in the field and have never done self-work. So they're sitting there across from you, telling you how to do the work that they haven't done themselves. So when people come through my programs, any program that I give, which is 8 weeks, this coaching program I kind of coming up, the 4 first weeks is about you. You come to me with marriage problems and say, my spouse is this and that, I'm saying, what about you? Because you have to be self-aware before you can regulate. You can't manage relationships if you can't manage you. So I'm starting these programs with our young boys, 8 to 12, 13 to 18. And BME specifically is for black males 25 years and older. And guess why I say 25 years older for black males? For BME, black male elevation. Because if you're in a position to where you've done the work, you should reach back and elevate. So I've created systematically to where the black men who are 21 and older, I want you to be in the BME program so you can reach back and help the 8-year-old. That you can reach back and help the 13-year-old, because God knows we need it. Right? So with that being said, that's my story. Today's my birthday. I was created to win. And I'm standing here despite car accidents and being shot and falling asleep and losing my parents and on and on and on, because I fundamentally was created to win, and each and every one of you were. So I'd like to open up for questions. If there's any online, if there's you all, this is your time. Don't be bashful, because now I told you you're in my love circle. So there's no question that is the wrong question, and the only wrong question is no question. I'll be giving y'all nuggets. Let me stop. Let me. All right, next. That was a nugget to me. Maybe questions, please. Any questions in the room? Any questions online?
Yeah, so we have a question online from T. Robbins, and T asks, with all the successes, do you still find it hard for people who look like you to believe in people that look like you? We as a people find it hard to believe in our own. Quick to believe Monica and Ross before we believe in James and Monique.
Woo! So let me repeat that. I mean, the gist of it is, some of us acquire a little success. And see, y'all already know, you know my background, so I'm from the hood. I'm ghetto, right? We could just dress it up with a couple of degrees, this and that. And so I refer to people like that as like the bougie people. They get a little something and then start looking at other people sideways because they've achieved a little excess. And one of the things that really irritate me is when people say, if I did it, you can do it. If that's not gaslight, I don't know what is. The other thing to answer that question is, why is it so difficult for us to pat each other on the back when a person achieves a certain amount of success? Do you know I have problems because people would say, now that you've made it, you're not like me, and they would only patronize me to a certain point. My own people. So to answer that, why is it so difficult for us when a person achieves success who looks like you to continuously be in them circles? And it's hard for us to patronize each other based on our merit because we have not defined our purpose. So hopefully it answers the question. I mean, that's a great kind of like question. Why is it so difficult for us to do that for each other? But did success change you? Does success change you? Does it change you?
Yes and no.
All right. Well, why is yes and no?
Well, I think that success can change people. I don't think that it has to. I think that people can decide to change or not to change. Success might need to change some people. Some people might need to change, and success might be the thing to do it. I think it depends on who the individual is as to whether it changes them or not. And it's a decision. Some people get success and they want to be, I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be around those people anymore. I'm not there anymore. So I want to be with people that I think are on my level and put on a kind of a facade so that the people who they want to be in the presence of will find them worthy of being in their presence.
Did you all hear that last piece? How many, we call it imposter syndrome. You know, I deal with so many people, of our people with imposter syndrome, that you really are not as confident as you think you are. And you know how you can tell? Is that when people are in situations that challenge them to be uncomfortable, they can't show up confident. I'm gonna repeat that. When people are in situations where they're uncomfortable, they don't show up confident. Because they're in them circles and they're trying to impress people and impress up on people who don't truly believe in them. And you're chasing something that you could never fulfill because they will never believe in you. And the reason why they typically don't believe in you is because they can see that you what?
Bonnet.
You don't believe in you.
Right.
And for many of us, it's easier for us to get into imposter syndrome because it's the thing for most African Americans is called assimilation. In order for us to succeed and have a certain amount of success, we assimilate. We adapt the behaviors and the mannerisms of those who have what it looks like to be success so we can emulate that. And then when we get a little bit of it, we look back and say, the old people can do it. Imposter syndrome. All right, any other questions? Any other questions?
Can or does success really change the core of who we are?
Question is, does success change the core of who you really are? What do you all think?
Yeah. Or the core of what you really are. No.
The core.
No.
So Kendra is answering that question in her comment. Kendra says, success can change your external circumstances, but not you internally.
Right. So the key, I'm gonna play on words here, because I want you all to really understand this from a mental health perspective. When we use the word, when people come into me for therapy or for coaching or for whatever, and they use the word change, I quickly stop them in their tracks. Change implies that you're this way and I can get you to be that way. And you all heard this saying that you can take the boy out the ghetto, but never take the ghetto out the boy. Can we change him? Is Dr. Buckingham changed? Do y'all think I'm changed? Yeah. Am I changed? I mean, all the success. I got 3 degrees. I done traveled around the world. I done served my country. I done overcame all that trauma and adversity. Did I change?
So I have a take on it, right?
My son said yes, because he knows. So you have to take it. I'm going to give the answer to why I'm saying it. It's lonely, but I want y'all to think it. I'm going to give it in a second.
So one of the things that I come to understand is that, like we're all saying, change is not external. So I can't make you change, but you can change if you decide to, right? So you could come to a place in your life through your experiences, whether, it's positive, negative, we're talking about success. And if you look at how you've done things in the past or your way of being, you could make a decision to say, like, I don't want to do that in that way anymore. So therefore you change, but it's not, precedented on other people doing it on you. You've made a decision to change yourself.
You made a change. So what we're talking about, yes.
I have a question because to me, you would have to define the change. Because to say, can a person change or does success change a person, it depends, because I may respond differently in situations because of my success, because before I had nothing to lose, so I'm just showing up and saying whatever, doing whatever I feel like it. But now I have a lot to lose. So my response may differ in a situation that was something that I experienced before. So I think that, again, it's yes and no. It depends on, you can change how you respond, you can change your conditions, but at the end of the day, what's in you is going to be in you. It's your decision to bring it out or not.
Yeah. So that's why I say it's pretty loaded, because she just answered it. Change. The core who I am. Am I still that 6-year-old boy who have those questions? Who am I? And does my life have meaning? Is that still there?
Yes.
It's still there. That didn't change. What changed was my zip code, my education, my ability to learn. But the essence of who I am, I'm still that young boy who at 10 years old, his father said, I'm not your real dad. I'm still that 17-year-old boy who sat in the hospital and lost his mom. I'm still that same kid who had to hustle to get away from that environment. So people say you changed. All of that is still there. And what I use change with is I adapted. See, we adapt and we develop. But the essence of who we are, that core, you don't change. And so I just had a situation with a young man and it didn't go well. And just to let you know that I have not changed, but I have grown and I've adapted, because I got into it with this young man, and the first thing that came to my mind is I'm gonna punch him in his head. And you know why? Because where I grew up and how I grew up, in the ghetto in St. Louis, when someone wronged you, you punch their head. Now, I talked about emotional intelligence because as a man who has grown and adapted, what I've learned is I have to be self-aware of that anger and then regulate. Y'all get the difference? But it was still there. My initial wasn't to be, oh, you're Dr. Buckingham, let's see how you can effectively communicate. No, my initial, I'm going to punch you in your head because you pissed me off.
We process later.
And I process later. Right, we can go talk about it later. Right now, I'm going to punch you in the head. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was really interested in, first of all, I'm Shannon Davies, and it's a pleasure to be here and to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
The second thing is, I was thinking about what you were saying about purpose, and it seems that the only stability I find in trying to find my purpose is to focus on God and His service, for service to Him. But the other part that I have confusion on sometimes is it seems to always be a moving target, and sometimes I feel like I found my purpose in confirmation from other people or a sense of peace, and I just don't exactly know how you came to the conclusion that you found your purpose, and you just walking in confidently until you find something new, or how does that go for you?
Right, so that's a great question. So how do you find your purpose? Because we say if some things is like a moving target, I typically go with what consistently moves me, right? So not what moves me externally, but the feeling that I have that is like consistently within inside of me. And so I use some basic core values to help me understand my purpose. So I use core values, and these are the things that no matter what the situation is for me, these things have to be present in how I interact with people and how I even see myself. One of the core values, and I got this, these are military core values: service before self, excellence in all you do, and integrity first. So I use these core values to help me understand my purpose. And what that means is when I'm feeling like I could be in a situation where I'm demonstrating excellence in all that I do, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to be doing. When I'm in situations where I'm going to do right, even when no one's looking, that integrity, this is what I need to be doing. When I'm in situations that I'm willing to have service before myself, which I can give to these black men, black male elevation, and feel good and not conflicted by, I'm telling them I'm going to give them 1 hour, but I give them 2 hours, and I feel no guilt about it. And so when I consistently feel that, I knew this is it. And I knew that I needed to be there. Now, as it relates to like my walk with God and walking in God's purpose and understanding even what that means, for me, I believe that God allows you to walk in peace. So if you're doing things that are not peaceful to you, I don't think that's your purpose. I'm going to repeat that because a lot of you all got jobs and all kinds of things that you're doing, and you stick with it, and you saying, this is my purpose. But I don't understand that, because if I believe that I was created to win, a part of me believing that I was created to win is that I was created to walk life in harmony. Because when I think about Genesis, everything was created for us to win. Adam and Eve was put in the garden to walk and have full dominion with no pain and suffering until they made bad decisions. So I truly believe a part of me being able to walk in my purpose is having a consistent mindset that is in harmony with the decisions that I'm making. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So I feel, that's how I feel good about knowing my purpose. Yes.
Do you think that your purpose changes as you evolve? And I don't mean as far as success, because to me success is relative, right? Everybody measures success differently based on what they desire. But as you grow, do you believe that your purpose may change, or do you strive to challenge yourself to kind of identify universal purposes, so no matter how you grow and how you change, you're able to walk?
Yeah, so I guess we talk about purposes. I also use purpose to some extent interchangeably with goals. And so you always should have like two goals that are there, because those goals, it helps you guide and walk into purposely what you're supposed to be doing. So it's a two-step process for me. Purpose is goals that I set for myself. One goal for me was to be a great father. And so how do I actually make that purposeful to me? I actually educate myself to figure out what it means to be a great father, because I didn't have one. That's one thing, but that's a goal. So I put the goal, and then I look for, why is that purposeful to me? Remember I said that purpose to me is often found in things that you long for, right? So you're not just out here moving the target because something sounds good. So for me, at the essence and the core of my purpose is, what do I long for? What do I need in order to be the best version of myself? So that's criteria that I use. And so that purpose for me is probably very limited, because my essence of what I need is really tied into being healthy and helpful. So these are my two criteria. I teach people, you can walk through life and you got four options. You can be helpful and helpful, or healthy and unhealthy. And so I navigate life with healthy and helpful. So if anything that I do falls in the category as unhealthy or hurtful, I don't think that's part of my purpose, because I don't think God created us to walk like that. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And we have another comment from Patrick Stewart, and he's joining us from YouTube. And Patrick said, I had hands, and because of negative conditions, I chose to take. But because I found purpose, those same hands now choose to give. Recognizing purpose changes you. We don't move the same.
Yes. Recognizing, Patrick P. Stewart said, recognizing purpose changes you. You don't move the same. So that's the other thing is, like, you don't move the same. I had a lot of things that I learned along the way that were terrible. But I could probably say I do not move the same today, because when you walk in your purpose, as Patrick said, it changes you. So another way to measure it is, have you or are you changed? Or are you the same person on a different day? How do you measure this change thing? Key word is, have you grown and have you developed? Get that change stuff out of your mind. Because I think it's like, it sits people in this place, they expect something from you as if it's going to go away. You go to therapy, and you've been in therapy talking to Dr. Buckingham and doing coaching for 6 months, so you should have changed by now. I just told you I spent most of my life in hell. So you said, nah, I'm supposed to change in 6 months because I'm going to talk to someone? But what should your expectation be is that that person is going to grow, adapt, and develop new skills, and you'll be there to support them.
Having gone through what you did you have any self-forgiveness issues or even just forgiveness otherwise?
Great question for you all online and in the room. He said, after all the stuff that I did I have problems with self-forgiveness and whatnot? And I would like to ask you all that too, just as a reflection kind of question, which you write in your journal. I hustled. I did things growing up that were not healthy, that were not good. And did I struggle with self-forgiveness? And the answer would be yes. Because I was raised by, again, a spiritual woman. I do right from wrong. But when I tell people, an individual, just because you know right from wrong, why do actually people do wrong knowing doing wrong is not right? Why do people do that? Like fundamentally, deep down, why would you do something that you know is bad and destructive, knowing that you do it anyway? Why? Why do we do that? Have you all ever heard of Socrates? He's a philosopher. And Socrates said to know the good is to do the good. Most people on the face value level believe that if you know what's right, you're going to do what's right. Is that true? No. What Socrates meant to know the good, to do the good, what he was saying is that most people is going to do what's good to them. So, for example, robbing the bank is wrong. But I tell myself I'm responsible for feeding my family. Right. So I justify the wrong with the intention of trying to do right. But that is faulty thinking, as we would say. So a lot of us make decisions and we do bad things. And what I can tell you is that if you never forgive yourself, if you don't have self-compassion, you become a prison who can never walk in your purpose. So I had to forgive myself. And forgiving myself, what it looked like for me was turning to God and saying, give me the ability to be able to right my wrongs. Y'all heard my quote last time, right? To right my wrongs. Because that's all that I can do. I can't go back and change my wrongs. I can just write them. And that's why I do BME. That's why I do Created to Win programs. Because I have been challenged and charged to just right my wrongs. And I think that's the next best thing that we all can do. Right your wrongs. That's what defines your character. And we would close out. If any more questions or line, if not, we're going to eat some, you order your food, we get some birthday cake, take some pictures, please. Many of you are here, you already got your books. I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna sign them, and then I would love to take pictures with you, get an autograph. If there's no other questions. Is it working? Yes, please play it. Oh, we got one video. They got a video that I want to show you all to like just summarize everything I talked about, and then you all can see me over here at the table. After we play the video, we're gonna do a little birthday song. I'm gonna sing, and then we'll go over here to sign books and get you all some food. Because I have 2 kids over, I know they did it. They got a projector. They got to hit that projector. She's gonna put it in. So we're gonna play a video for those who are tuning in on live and stream with us. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending the time with us. We're gonna play a video, and we're gonna have some closing remarks, sing happy birthday to me, and we will make sure that we keep you all here with us as we load up the video and get this playing for us. So give us a second, those, and we're gonna play this video to close things out for you. Any more questions? Why anybody got anything online?
No, everyone just said this was great.
Yes.
I just have a very fast comment.
Yes.
You were talking about forgiving ourselves. And one thing that I heard someone say in the past is that we're trying to do something that was never in our power to do. Forgiveness was something that God established and that He can only do. We just have to walk in a way in which that we know that we are forgiven. And so I think if we stop trying to do what we don't have power to do, we give and move forward confidently in what God has done for us.
I agree with you 100%. Round it. See, I love, again, and the reason why I like say my mother was religious, spiritual, not necessarily religious. One of the things that I really love about being African American, being Black, is that, our spiritual faith and belief in God. Now, the other thing that I often say to people too is there is a difference between theology and psychology. And so with our people, it says faith without works is dead. And this is where I like to bring in the importance of psychology. Because you can't pray your way out of depression. I promise you, you can't. I promise you, you can't. You can't pray your way out of them demons and that trauma that I've experienced. You have to get some psychology. And what is the difference? The spiritual part of us, and this is the threefold nature of man. I teach this to pastors. I have a program called Pastoral Psychological Care. And it's focusing, and I work with pastors. And with them, we talk about the threefold nature of man. Do you all know the threefold nature of man? It's the flesh, the body. We also have the spirit, and we have the soul. Do you all know the Greek word for soul? Psyche. So in the church, we have a tendency to focus on the spirituality. There's reverence, there's worship, there's prayer. But how is it possible that I work with pastors who commit suicide? Have you all ever asked that? How is that possible to work with men and women who are theologically strong, but they're dealing with depression? I've worked with pastors who committed suicide by gun, by pills, by hanging. And you know why that's possible? Because in the church, we're taught to nurture the spirituality, reverence, worship, and the spirituality is what we call the Holy Ghost. But guess what? Your ability to make decisions and your free will lies in your soul. What is the Greek word for soul? Psyche. Because God gave us the greatest gift ever, and it's called free will. That is why I get to choose right over wrong. And so that's why my pastor would say you would have individuals be in church and they were Holy Ghost, they like that, and then walk out in the parking lot and curse you out. Because those are different faculties. Our spiritual realm is different than our soul, which is our psyche. So that's why I say when you go to church for premarital therapy or counseling, whatever, make sure you connect that with some psychology. Because theology and psychology are not the same. And so for us, the people to heal, we got to have the best of both worlds. We pray and then get help. But you can't pray and not get help. How many of you all believe in therapy or have ever had therapy? That's why y'all heard us. I need some. This is right, crowd. I need the ones who not. I put up both of my hands. I put up both of my hands, and I say this. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I put up both of my hands because I would tell you, if you go to a therapist who's never been to therapy, you might need to run. And you know why I say you need to run? Because 85% of therapists who come into this field got problems. We come into the mental health field with problems because we want to help the alcoholic kid because our father was alcoholic. We want to help that woman because my mother was domesticated. She was in a domesticated relationship. We want to help that young black male because it's Dr. Buckingham who came from the ghetto. We come into this thing messed up. So if you talk to a therapist who is sitting there telling you how to get right, and they haven't got right, I promise you, you should run it. I promise you. Because that's not the kind of help you need. So, it's good. Cue it up. We're going to play the video. I'm the second youngest of 8 children. There was 8 of us, and I was the second youngest. But more importantly, I was raised by a single parent mother in the ghetto. And when I mean the ghetto, I mean the ghetto, where we lived in what we call the cold water flats. They were called the cold water flats because they did not have hot water. So when I wanted to take a bath and take a shower, I had to go heat up the water, stand in the bucket, pour the water in there, and that's how I bathed myself. Because we did not have hot water. We called it the cold water flats because we did not have heat. When the winter came around, we had to use wood stoves and kerosene heaters to keep warm. Because that's what our way of keeping our bodies and souls in good spirit. When we talk about horses, I witnessed at 5 years old, I remember walking home from school, and there was a dead body laying in the alley. The man had got shot up. And the police in the inner city take so long to ride that when we got out of school, we saw the body, that blood. So I witnessed violence. I witnessed mental illness. I witnessed individuals use drugs, and they were not in their right state of mind. So I had a lot of hardship. And finally, we shared our sleeping quarters with rats and roaches. Literally, that you had to make sure that when you went to bed, that you did not have anything on your fingers or hands because they would bite you if not. And so we grew up in those conditions, and we did not have 2 pennies to run together because we didn't have the financial prosperity. So when you are born and raised in those conditions, you begin to dream. And I said before you today to say that dreams do come true. They do come true. Because I can stand before you today and say that I'm president and CEO of a 6-figure company. That I make good money doing the things that I love doing, which is giving back to people. I stand before you today and say that I'm a clinical psychotherapist who has provided therapy to over 30,000 people. You say, Dr. Buckingham, how is that possible? For the last 19 years, I've sat in a counseling chair, and I've talked to 6 to 7 patients every day for 18 years. You do the math. I've been able to help a lot of people overcome the very hardships that cause me to dream. But when you are able to overcome the very things that have punished you, it makes you feel good on the outside. You all agree? And so with that, I've been able to do something by acquiring a $500,000 home. I said I lived in the cold water flats when I was young, but now I'm proud to say that I live in a 5-bedroom home, and I share the sleeping quarters with my wife and my son. And I said that I grew up in a single-parent household, so I broke some patterns. I did some things different. And so that's important to understand that. And then financial prosperity, because you can dream and dream and dream, but if you don't have the means to make the dream come true, it doesn't matter how you dream. So financial prosperity, I've been able to acquire that. And that is how my dream has come through. That I can stand before you and say that I am not in debt. I have 3 degrees, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a Ph.D, and I owe no one anything. We'll close out. I'm going to get over here. You can order you some food. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to say this and I'm going to say this thing. Never, ever apologize for your success. And I'm not going to do this with our people. Because the very time you get up and you make it, they want to knock you down. And I say, you don't know my pain, so don't knock me when I'm celebrating my glory. When I'm hitting the spots. Because you don't know where I've been. And we're quick to do that when a person gets to a certain point. We want to knock them. Well, why are you talking about your house? Well, you don't know why I'm excited to live in a 5-bedroom when I slept in a 1-bedroom with a kerosene heater and rats and roaches. So unless you know my story, that's why I say to the brothers, you can't do nothing but co-sign my healing because you ain't going to co-sign my pain. If you can't co-sign my enjoyment and my success, don't co-sign my trauma because you don't know my trauma. Don't knock me for what you don't know. Because if you don't know my path, you definitely don't know my joy. So I'll end with that. And I thank all of you. So I'm going to be signing books. And we got the coaching program. As I said to you all, it's an 8-week certified empathy resiliency coaching program. You work with me for 8 weeks. And at the end of that 8 weeks, you become certified. I bring you back into my company to do some coaching and do some work. But the most important part is for you all to heal. Thank you all. Good night. Let's sign some books. Please order you all food, and we all cut some cake too.
Can we sing happy birthday to Dr. B? Can we do that? I think you forgot about that. Y'all ready? There's some singers out there. All right. Let's do it. All right. Let's jazz it up a little bit. Y'all clap. Come on. Let's do it. Happy birthday. Come on. To you. Hey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God, may God, may God bless you. Let's get it.
I'm going to get over here. Please come get your book and take some pictures with me. I love to take pictures with everyone. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank everyone.
Yes. And, well, look. Sir, I got to tell all of you all who took some time to come out here in this weather. Yes, thank you. But those online as well. Thank you all for joining us and for the questions and hanging out with us. And please, if you have not purchased the book, you can see on the screen it's available at www.created2winbook.com. So thank you all for joining in and spending the evening with us. You all be blessed. And I definitely would also autograph your book. So just because you're not in the room, did not mean you won't get an autographed book. Be blessed. Thank you all.